MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number. Analysis. North America's native cuisine met the same unfortunate fate as its native people, save for a few relics like the Thanksgiving turkey. Certainly, we still have regional specialties, but the Carolina barbecue will almost certainly have California tomatoes in its sauce, and the Louisiana gumbo is just as likely to contain Indonesian farmed shrimp. Carolina, California, Louisiana. If either of these shows up on a fast food menu with lots of added fats or HFCS, we seem unable either to discern or resist the corruption. We have yet to come up with a strong set of generalized norms, passed down through families, for savoring and sensibly consuming what our land and climate give us. We have, instead, a string of fad diets convulsing our bookstores and bellies, one after another, at the scale of the national bestseller. 9 out of 10 nutritionists view this as evidence that we have entirely lost our marbles. 109. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number. 01. I suspect fungi are a little more forward-thinking than their larger partners. Among trees, each species fights other species. Let's assume the beeches native to Central Europe could emerge victorious in most forests there. Would this really be an advantage? What would happen if a new pathogen came along that infected most of the beeches and killed them? In that case, wouldn't it be more advantageous if there were a certain number of other species around oaks, maples, or firs that would continue to grow and provide the shade needed for a new generation of young beeches to sprout and grow up? Diversity provides security for ancient forests. Because fungi are also very dependent on stable conditions, they support other species underground and protect them from complete collapse to ensure that one species of tree doesn't manage to dominate. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number. 02. Everyone's heard the expression "don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good." If you want to get over an obstacle so that your idea can become the solution-based policy you've long dreamed of, you can't have an all-or-nothing mentality. You have to be willing to alter your idea and let others influence its outcome. You have to be okay with the outcome being a little different, even a little less, than you wanted. Say you're pushing for a Clean Water Act. Even if what emerges isn't as well funded as you wished, or doesn't match how you originally conceived the bill, you'll have still succeeded in ensuring that kids in troubled areas have access to clean water. That's what counts, that they will be safer because of your idea and your effort. Is it perfect? No. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. But in almost every case, helping move the needle forward is vastly better than not helping at all. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number. 03. Research in the science of peak performance and motivation points to the fact that different tasks should ideally be matched to our energy level. For example, analytical tasks are best accomplished when our energy is high and we are free from distractions and able to focus. I generally wake up energized. Over the years, I have consistently stuck to the habit of eating my problems for breakfast. I'm someone who tends to overthink different scenarios and conversations that haven't happened yet. When I procrastinate on talking with an unhappy client or dealing with an unpleasant email, I find I waste too much emotional energy during the day. It's as if the task hangs over my head, and I'll spend more time worrying about it, talking about it, and avoiding it, than it would actually take to just take care of it. So for me, it'll always be the first thing I get done. If you know you are not a morning person, be strategic about scheduling your difficult work later in the day. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number. 04. Perhaps worse than attempting to get the bad news out of the way is attempting to soften it or simply not address it at all. This mum effect, a term coined by psychologists Sidney Rosen and Abraham Tesser in the early 1970s, happens because people want to avoid becoming the target of others' negative emotions. 1970 Sidney Rosen, Abraham Tesser. We all have the opportunity to lead change, yet it often requires of us the courage to deliver bad news to our superiors. We don't want to be the innocent messenger who falls before a firing line. When our survival instincts kick in, they can override our courage until the truth of a situation gets watered down. The mum effect and the resulting filtering can have devastating effects in a steep hierarchy, writes Robert Sutton, an organizational psychologist. Robert Sutton. What starts out as bad news becomes happier and happier as it travels up the ranks, because after each boss hears the news from his or her subordinates, he or she makes it sound a bit less bad before passing it up the chain. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7, Number 05. For companies interested in delighting customers, exceptional value and service become part of the overall company culture. For example, year after year, Pizzano ranks at or near the top of the hospitality industry in terms of customer satisfaction. Pizzano. The company's passion for satisfying customers is summed up in its credo, which promises that its luxury hotels will deliver a truly memorable experience. Although a customer-centered firm seeks to deliver high customer satisfaction relative to competitors, it does not attempt to maximize customer satisfaction. A company can always increase customer satisfaction by lowering its price or increasing its services. But this may result in lower profits. Thus, the purpose of marketing is to generate customer value profitably. This requires a very delicate balance. The marketer must continue to generate more customer value and satisfaction but not give away the house. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7, Number 06. Studies by Vesniato and Brewer illustrate fish is fish-style assimilation in the context of young children's thinking about the Earth. Vesniato, Brewer, Fish is fish. They worked with children who believed that the Earth is flat, because this fit their experiences, and attempted to help them understand that, in fact, it is spherical. When told it is round, children often pictured the Earth as a pancake rather than as a sphere. If they were then told that it is round like a sphere, they interpreted the new information about a spherical Earth within their flat Earth view by picturing a pancake-like flat surface inside or on top of a sphere, with humans standing on top of the pancake. The model of the Earth that they had developed and that helped them explain how they could stand or walk upon its surface did not fit the model of a spherical Earth. Like the story Fish is Fish, where a fish imagines everything on land to be fish-like, everything the children heard was incorporated into their pre-existing views. Fish is fish. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7, Number 07. The most dangerous threat to our ability to concentrate is not that we use our smartphone during working hours, but that we use it too irregularly. By checking our emails every now and then on the computer and our text messages here and there on our phone with no particular schedule or rhythm in mind, our brain loses its ability to effectively filter. The solution is to regulate your devices as if you were on a strict diet. When it comes to nutrition, sticking to a fixed time plan for breakfast, lunch, and dinner allows your metabolism to adjust, thereby causing less hunger during the in-between phases. Your belly will start to rumble around 12:30 p.m. each day, but that's okay because that's a good time to eat lunch. 1-2. If something unexpected happens, you can add a snack every now and then to get fresh energy, but your metabolism will remain under control. It's the same with our brain when you put it on a media diet. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7, Number 08. The creative team exhibits paradoxical characteristics. It shows tendencies of thought and action that we'd assume to be mutually exclusive or contradictory. For example, to do its best work, a team needs deep knowledge of subjects relevant to the problem it's trying to solve, and a mastery of the processes involved. But at the same time, the team needs fresh perspectives that are unencumbered by the prevailing wisdom or established ways of doing things. Often called a beginner's mind, this is the newcomer's perspective. People who are curious, even playful, and willing to ask anything, no matter how naive the question may seem, because they don't know what they don't know. Thus, bringing together contradictory characteristics can accelerate the process of new ideas. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number 09. Author Elizabeth Gilbert tells the fable of a great saint who would lead his followers in meditation. Elizabeth Gilbert. Just as the followers were dropping into their Zen moment, they would be disrupted by a cat that would walk through the temple meowing and bothering everyone. The saint came up with a simple solution. He began to tie the cat to a pole during meditation sessions. This solution quickly developed into a ritual. Tie the cat to the pole first, meditate second. When the cat eventually died of natural causes, a religious crisis followed. What were the followers supposed to do? How could they possibly meditate without tying the cat to the pole? This story illustrates what I call invisible rules. These are habits and behaviors that have unnecessarily rigid feed into rules. Although written rules can be resistant to change, invisible ones are more stubborn. They're the silent killers. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number 10. In school, there's one curriculum, one right way to study science, and one right formula that spits out the correct answer on a standardized test. Textbooks with grand titles like The Principles of Physics magically reveal the principles in 300 pages. 300. An authority figure then steps up to the lectern to feed us the truth. As theoretical physicist David Gross explained in his Nobel lecture, textbooks often ignore the many alternate paths that people wandered down, the many false clues they followed, the many misconceptions they had. David Gross. We learn about Newton's laws as if they arrived by a grand divine visitation or a stroke of genius, but not the years he spent exploring, revising, and changing them. The laws that Newton failed to establish, most notably his experiments in alchemy, which attempted, and spectacularly failed, to turn lead into gold, don't make the cut as part of the one-dimensional story told in physics classrooms. Instead, our education system turns the life stories of these scientists from lead to gold. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number 11. If creators knew when they were on their way to fashioning a masterpiece, their work would progress only forward. They would halt their idea generation efforts as they struck gold. But in fact, they backtrack, returning to versions that they had earlier discarded as inadequate. In Beethoven's most celebrated work, the Fifth Symphony, he scrapped the conclusion of the first movement because it felt too short, only to come back to it later. 5.1. Had Beethoven been able to distinguish an extraordinary from an ordinary work, he would have accepted his composition immediately as a hit. When Picasso was painting his famous Guernica in protest of fascism, he produced 79 different drawings. Guernica, 7-9. Many of the images in the painting were based on his early sketches, not the later variations. If Picasso could judge his creations as he produced them, he would get consistently warmer and use the later drawings. But in reality, it was just as common that he got colder. MTC. Good job. MTC. Let's start. 242, Chapter 7 Number 12. Over the centuries, various writers and thinkers, looking at humans from an outside perspective, have been struck by the theatrical quality of social life. The most famous quote expressing this comes from Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, / and all the men and women merely players, / they have their exits and their entrances, / and one man in his time plays many parts. If the theatre and actors were traditionally represented by the image of masks, writers such as Shakespeare are implying that all of us are constantly wearing masks. Some people are better actors than others. Evil types such as Iago in the play Othello are able to conceal their hostile intentions behind a friendly smile. Othello Iago. Others are able to act with more confidence and bravado, they often become leaders. People with excellent acting skills can better navigate our complex social environments and get ahead. MTC. Good job.